your program teaches you how to find the truth, and your brain actually starts creating the truth and the neural pathways to change itself, and the neuroplasticity, which I love that word. Anyway, and but it's incredible how you really start to do the work yourself. And then next thing I know, I didn't want to just cut back. I wanted to quit. I wanted to be done. It was really fascinating.
It really is. Hi everyone, this is Nasya Davos and welcome to this episode of Ask an Ex. Every Ask an Ex episode features an inspiring ex-smoker who succeeded with the CBQ method and who shares their personal experience and unique perspective on quitting smoking. And the ex I have with me today joined our CBQ program and quit smoking on the 27th of July 2019. And she's here to tell you how she did it. Please welcome Layna Joy Rivas. Hi, Layna. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi. Hello. Thank you.
And huge congratulations on your success. It's been like 2.5 years now, right?
Yes. Yeah, it has, which is really exciting. You almost get excited to start counting the days that you have been a non-smoker, which makes it very motivating. I'm really excited to do the interview because I'm really excited to let you know, I guess, my journey as well and how you've been a part of it, which is incredible.
I'd love to hear it more than anything.
Yeah, it's more than just quitting smoking. Honestly, it kind of opened up a like a catalyst for like self-healing and self-growth. And I don't think people realize that. And a huge part of it is that self-love, I guess, that a lot of us don't realize we're not even loving ourselves, or I don't know. You're like, what do you mean? I just went and bought myself a tub of ice cream. I'm loving myself,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely, a whirlwind.
Yeah. And how does it feel being 2.5 years smoke-free?
I'll tell you what, time flies by for sure. And I definitely do not miss it. If anything, it's totally opposite. I loathe the smell. It's hard for me to even be around people that smoke now. I feel wonderful for myself and the people that are around me too.
That's amazing. And I know you have a sort of special journey that you're gonna tell me all about. But tell me a bit, how did you start smoking, and for how long did you smoke? How much did you smoke? All those things.
Gosh, I started smoking when I was probably like 14, kind of that cliche kid in the backyard, rebel, trying to be bad, going against the grain. But then it became an addiction, of course, and then I just kind of smoked throughout my life. And sometimes it was because I was bored, I was hurt, I was mad, I was angry, I was happy. I mean, yeah, anything. I infiltrated into everything in my life, until 2019. Well, actually, no, I did try quitting at one time when I was 27, and I quit for like a year, but then something awful happened and I started it right back up. So it was, yeah. But this time I feel like with the program, that it's so far behind me now, and it's not even in my wants, that like things have happened that have been really awful, but it hasn't triggered me to go back to smoking. If anything, I just eat a tub of ice cream. No, I'm just kidding.
well, that's amazing. And how much did you smoke? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah, I was never like crazy, like maybe like a half a pack. And then,
okay.
Yeah.
That's sometimes being a lighter smoker can also be challenging, because we tend to think, oh, it's not that bad. And so
the excuses, yeah, I would tell myself I'm a healthy smoker because I'm in the mountains and I run around and I'm active, and yeah, the excuses are funny. And it's really funny to listen to other people actually tell the excuses, because I was like, I was there, I know all those excuses.
Yeah,
they really don't matter.
When we tell ourselves, we're not really understanding that this is what's happening. We think those thoughts are the truth, right?
Yes. Yeah, it really is incredible what truth we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And why did you decide to quit smoking? What motivated you?
I actually did not decide to quit smoking. I actually decided that, well, in the beginning, my goal was to cut back. I was like, oh, maybe I just want to be like one cigarette a day or maybe one cigarette a week or whatever. And when I started your program, I was like, okay, this is great. I'm just gonna like this seems like it's gonna help me cut back. Sorry, there's a helicopter going.
That's
Uh, and uh, and then it's so loud where I'm at. Um, anyways, and then next thing I know, I your program teaches you how to find the truth, and your brain actually starts creating the truth and the neural pathways to change itself, and the neuroplasticity, which I love that word. Anyway, and but it's incredible how you are really start to do the work yourself. And then next thing I know, I didn't want to just cut back. I wanted to quit. I wanted to be done. It was really fascinating.
it really is. So
Yeah.
what made you, say, okay, I'm smoking half a pack. I want to be down to one cigarette a day and do this occasionally. Um, do you remember why you sort of had that goal?
Um, yeah. Oh yeah, the shame. I started building up a lot of shame around smoking because I created an artist off grid space where a lot of people come to heal, and I do workshops and I teach kids. And next thing I know, I found myself hiding behind my building smoking, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. And what am I doing? And then why am I feeling shameful for something I'm doing? And I just, yeah, it started unraveling all these questions. And then I was watching TED Talks or something, and somehow I don't know, it's one of those conspiracy that your phone listens to you, but your TED Talk came up about smoking, and I was like, well, that's strange. Let's dive into this a little bit. Who is she? And then I just fell in love with the way your presentation and your passion behind all of it. And I was like, oh, okay, this I can get into. And then the way you started breaking it down, where you weren't this authoritative presence saying stop, quit smoking. You were more like, hey, let me teach you how your brain messes with you and tells you that you're supposed to be a smoker when you're really not. And I thought that was really fascinating. The more you actually get involved in your own thinking and your own observation of who you are and your behaviors, which your program helps you see all that with, you do the steps, and you really do have to do the steps like you say. That Yeah, it was really neat to be able to, yeah, look inside my mind and watch how it does work, and how yeah, we are in control of what we think and do.
Yeah,
So
we can be for sure.
yeah.
And going through this process and, learning more about yourself and how you think and all those things, this made you say, I'd rather not smoke at all, which I would imagine is a big step, especially when your
Mhm.
initial intention is, I'm just gonna cut down.
Right, that one page that shows you like every day you have to put like how many you've smoked.
Yeah.
I loved that one because you could tell like in the beginning, like I started in at like 10, and then you see me cut back to like 6 the next day, and then you see me go to 4, and then you see the third day where I totally rebel and I go up to 9, and then and it's so funny how you watch how your brain wants to go, no, 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 I want to be bad, I want to hurt myself, I want to do this awful thing, and then you see your brain getting healthier and making the steps to,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really, really neat.
And I think what you just said is also very important, having these moments when not everything goes as planned, because this is where you really learn.
Yes. Yes, the planning part was, yeah, I was like, wow, okay, well, I didn't plan that, but wow, I feel really great.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And since you quit smoking, I mean, it has been a while, but how has your life changed? How has quitting smoking affected you?
Mhm. Not only physically, because I definitely feel a lot better physically. Because one of my things, I'm a singer too, so one of my goals
Oh,
was like,
wow.
yeah, that I don't have that froggy voice, or so I definitely, my voice has gotten cleared out or clearer, and I noticed something that went way deeper than just the not smoking part, but it was almost as if it was a catalyst for self-growth. And after I quit smoking about a year later, I really started diving in naturally into a lot of self-growth. And observations of behaviors or self-defenses. It's been a real amazing journey to see, yeah, a lot of internal individual growth. And it started with getting rid of that block, which was the smoking, the certainty or the shame or whatever, trying to find what it was, why I was smoking was really important. And it was that, like, it was what kind of unraveled the present, the box.
And which is amazing. And I think it's perhaps it's as important as the health part.
Hmm.
Is the
Yes.
opening up of your potential and your confidence and seeing that,
Mm,
oh, I could be doing much more. My mind could be much more my friend. And I think it's as important as the health, really. And sometimes
it
people say,
is.
yeah, I don't have a health problem, so why should I quit smoking? And the answer is because of everything it's going to open up for you.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's not just the health, right? Yeah, you feel better about yourself. You just, yeah, it just puts you in a whole nother realm, really.
Yeah. And so you grew more, you started wanting to pick apart some other aspects of your mind and yourself that you wanted to be better at. How else has it helped you?
Um, I have a lot of fun inspiring others to quit smoking as well. And I feel like as a collective conscious, we're all trying to ascend, psychologically and physically, and to, I don't know, a better and healthier world, and so a lot of it is stripping away some of these things that erode our magnificence, and our awesomeness as human beings. And I think once you realize, like, what it is that's holding you back, and that addiction and where that's coming from, it is that spiral. And I don't know, to inspire other people to kind of do the same and wake up in a way. And it's okay, people want to keep sleeping too, and they want to smoke, having compassion, I think, is really important too, for the
Of
people
course,
that
of course.
don't. Yeah. And because it is hard once you get to that place where you're like, I'm a non-smoker, then you're like, kind of like,
Yeah,
um but I was going to say that the FOMO part is, everyone has that FOMO. And
yeah.
honestly, people ask me that question the most. It's like, well, don't you miss it? And I was like, actually, no, I don't. And the time that I thought I was going to miss it was all those moments in time that we try to fill up with smoking. And whether or not because we're bored or we don't like our life or whatever the answer is, and quitting smoking and doing the work, this is what's is the catalyst that starts creating that observation of who you really are and how you think and why you think. And if you do want to change certain things in your life, like, you can do it easier if you know your patterns and your everything and how you think about your defenses and all of that. And so it's kind of neat.
Yeah,
I feel like if you are a smoker and you decide to go through this program, like, you can almost excel quicker at self growth than someone who's never
I
smoked, perhaps.
100% believe
You
that.
know, yeah.
Believe
And
that.
so, yeah, they say a lot of the best psychologists are people that went through a lot of, trauma. And so, because they learn how to deal with trauma and move past it.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you because it's such a journey of because being addicted to nicotine, it's not a small thing. And
Hmm.
when you are in that situation, you cannot see things clearly. It's by working through the process and then looking back that you can see, oh, this is what I've been doing to myself psychologically, spiritually, and
Yes.
physically. But when you're in the process, you cannot really see all those things. But I think going through this process, it's such an important, it's a gem in self
Hmm.
growth. So
Hmm.
I really agree with you because
It
you're
really
going through
is.
things that someone who never smoked does not have the opportunity to go through and
Hmm.
discover and put those pieces together. So yeah,
Yeah. It's a duality, humans love duality. I think that's why we have the love and the hate, and, the sweet and the sour, just, and yeah, being able to be, down, to be up.
being a
Yeah, it's
smoker
neat. And
or a
this,
non-smoker, just reducing as well
exactly.
is
But
not.
it was neat to see, like, that certainty is so real. Like that was one thing I really noticed about why I was smoking too. In the end, the ceremony was really
Yeah.
important too. I think that's extremely important. I keep telling that to people about the ceremony part. We're like, yes, we
Do you
do
want
as
to share a
humans.
little bit what it is and what
Ah,
advice would you
yeah.
give to someone?
Which yeah, I thought it was brilliant when you were like, no, create a ceremony. The moment we do create ceremony, it is true. We when you make an intention, our intentions are so strong, and as humans, we are so strong in our minds. And if you don't realize it, then just make an intention and watch it come true. But yeah, when I made the ceremony, I was like, okay, I'm going to have it this way and this way. Come
So
to
you mean
find out, it did.
about your last cigarette?
Yes, yes, the
Okay.
last cigarette, huh? And for my ceremony, it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to because I ended up
Okay.
having guests that were coming up that weekend to the place, and so because I rent the place rents out as a whole retreat style. But anyways, and I was like, oh gosh, I want to be able to be not smoking for this retreat coming in, but then at the same time, it's not really on my date, and so I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna wake up, and it's gonna be a little different than the ceremony, but it's still gonna be my ceremony, and honestly, like I brought all my emotions, I brought all my observations to the table to where I was, having my last cigarette. I even brought my cat, my precious, amazing cat. And I asked my father, who has already passed over, who was a big smoker, to come to the table as well. I was like, I don't care where you are in the ethos, you are coming and sitting with me. And I swear, I thought that cigarette was gonna last 15 minutes, and it lasted like not even like a minute and a half, but which was really funny, and it was nice because it was just quick, gone. And then I got to sit there with all my emotions, and I cried and kind of was able to feel the deep embedded root of like why I was smoking. And it was that certainty feeling of like not having certainty. As human beings, we really don't ever really know the real outcome of things, and we try to control so much. But to really finally get to that point of like knowing of like it's okay if things just pass, it's okay if things happen, I will be prepared, or it's exciting what is to come next, and just really letting go of that need for certainty. And because that was cigarettes, oh, I know that I can go and to the store and smoke a cigarette, that is so easy. So
So you made the ritual of your last cigarette sort of a spiritual experience where you were able to connect with yourself, and
mm,
what I you said that you felt all those feelings that were there, and I think that's so important as well,
yeah,
because when we try to push them down, they're gonna come back. But if you allow
yes.
yourself to feel what you feel, it's easier for those feelings as well to pass by.
Yes, yeah, I let them come up, and then just let 'em go. And now, like, if I do have feelings where I would have triggers to go and wanna smoke,
Yeah,
now I just kind of feel like a river where it's just they kinda come and they go through me and they come out, and just become this, like,
really
open
nice.
vessel that doesn't get s you don't stick yourself to these emotions because that's not what they're for. I don't believe. But and I feel like we do, we stick to our emotions so much. Um,
Yeah, we sort of identify with our emotions. When we
uh,
have an experience, we feel I am that emotion. Well, in
yeah.
reality, it's exactly what you said. I love what you said. It's like a river. The reality is it's just passing through. It's
Yeah.
not you, right?
Yes. Well, it's interesting because I speak Spanish as well. My father's Costa Rican, and in English we say
Yeah,
I am sad, and
yeah.
in Spanish you say yo tengo triste. So it's like wow, like the difference even in our language is like in English we are our emotions, and in another language it is no, I have this emotion, so I
Mm,
can let go of it. So it's so different, and I really
yes,
I'm kind of really curious to see the cross cultural,
that's a
yeah,
very
whether
interesting
hmm
observation
yeah,
because
language is
language
very,
matters a lot.
yes, it's very fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our thoughts are made out of the language, so saying I am
hmm
sad, it's really makes you identify with it whether you're aware of
yeah,
it or not. So
you really
that's
empower
interesting.
it. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
so by this observation, then I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I'm not sad, I'm Layna. I'm happy, I'm all these things. So it's
yeah.
like really trying to identify with who you are, and yeah, and then let it go. So yeah, but the triggers, I definitely, that's that's been an interesting one where you just kind of breathe, and the breathing is really important. You
Yes.
know,
The, what kind of breathing helps you? Because I know that it works but I know many people who may be watching this, they're like, oh, I don't know how to do it or
Mhm.
whatever. Is there something a
Um,
quick?
I feel like if you find your own pattern of what feels good to you, and then once you find that part that feels good, try to remember that pattern. If you even want a pattern, if you don't want a pattern, just do what feels right and in the moment for yourself. Because I think that's where the real power comes from, is when it comes from within your creativeness, your own, I don't know, feeling. Because with me, I want to breathe like deep and then maybe let go and maybe shrug my shoulders, but maybe someone wants to do a couple breaths, so it's I feel like whatever works best for you. And with
Right.
smoking, I notice when you smoke you have this like hit in your back of your throat, and it is all about this breath. So in a way we are trying to like have this extra feeling of life, which is breath. And
Yes.
I thought that was pretty interesting too, where I'm like, oh god, I'm just really bored of life or what. I just want more of it. And so it's just funny what our minds tell
Yeah.
ourselves.
Yeah,
Hmm.
our minds are fascinating and not
So fascinating.
always like there is a part of our mind that's sort of on autopilot that's not really our friend. It's just there to help us
Mm,
save energy without really assessing properly our behaviors. So I think smoking
mm,
is the byproduct of that. For a big part of it is a byproduct of that. But back to the breathing,
sure.
circling back to that. So you said just for someone to find what kind of breathing feels good to them. It can be whatever for each person, and which is great. And also perhaps to be present when you're breathing, even if it
Mm,
lasts for two breaths. Just be there.
yes.
I think that's
Yes, that's really
also
important. Yeah,
important.
the
Yeah.
present. But people like I feel like people don't understand what being present is
Mm.
always. And because we're not really taught how to be present, we're taught
Exactly.
about, yeah, well, what do we do next, what do we do this. So I was I'm kind of thinking a lot about present and how to telling people what present is. And for me it's like present is when I'm being and I'm not doing, if that makes sense. So I feel like when I tell people like if you're doing, then you're not being present. If you're doing, like you're in the future, like I've got to do this and I've got to do that, then you're not actually just being. So if you're not thinking about anything that you have to do and you're not thinking about anything that you've done, then I feel like you're in the present.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And 100%. And also, when you're um, sort of even not judging what's happening in the present, that's
Yes.
where you go even sort of further and you are just in a meditative state. But I think
Hmm.
even just thinking about the now, if you need to think about the now, it's really, really helpful.
Yes.
Because many times, like when I meditate, I catch myself thinking, "Oh, what I have to do next, and next, and next," and we live life like that, and
Hmm.
it's very anxiety provoking.
It really is. Yeah, it definitely is. And I try to understand, the living in the future, living in the past, living in the present, because that's the type of humans we have created. And I think we're trying to learn how to be more present with the meditating and the whole spiritual trend. But I think, yeah, the being in your heart space is like that curious space. And so if you feel yourself being curious, I feel like that's a good way to know if you're in your mind or if you're in your heart. And yeah, which is kind of a
Very
fun.
interesting. And
Hmm.
curiosity is such a childlike um,
Mm,
feature, right? That children are
yes.
always curious and this and that, and I think it's like a sign of life.
Yeah. And self growth. It helps with self growth. You have to have, and self growth, it starts in your heart space. And
Yeah.
then I call it like your heart space helps project, the stuff going on in your mind, because your mind is just, whew, it is a roller coaster sometimes in there, but like extremely intelligent and fascinating.
These are some of the things you teach, right, in your retreats.
Yes, well, I'm a sound practitioner, so I do sound healing. And so
Okay.
I do a lot of that where it brings people very present, because
Mhm.
there's nothing they can do. They can't go anywhere. And it gives them this one space to really just hone in. and you know about the beta waves. So you have your, a lot of times people are in the beta waves, and when you have the high anxiety, you're up high beta wave, but it actually forces the binaural beats, forces your beta waves or your waves down into your alpha. So people that can't really meditate,
Calmer, which is a calmer state.
it actually calms, yeah, people that like, if you have problems meditating or problems just kind of resting. I had one guy like try to lay down for a session, and he just couldn't, and you could just tell he was just so like yeah, it was really hard
Tense.
for him to relax
Yeah.
and to meditate, and then but he finally did, and once he did, he was just, yeah, he was amazed what happened. Everything kind of, all the juices start flowing and things flow up to the top that your mind really wants to look at, and the self-conscious kind of it comes out in a more non-judgmental and more observational way, I think, with the sound. It's really fascinating.
Tell me, what has quitting smoking taught you?
um Strengthen our minds. Neuroplasticity is real. um which is, if anyone doesn't know what neuroplasticity is, it is our ability to rewire our brains. And the yeah, the motivational process too, that we carry within ourselves is incredible. Because it really is. People can tell you all day long, quit smoking, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do that, but then you're like, well, why? I'm not ready, or I don't want to, or in the moment we want, we do. And so that is so important. And yeah, seeing how important our wants are, and how like powerful they are. And yeah, I'm just proud. I'm proud that I was able to,
Yeah.
yeah, to stick with it. And yeah, it definitely makes me really happy and proud when I see the certificate, and I'm like, wow, that's 2019,
Yeah.
and I talk to people and I'm like, yeah, I quit smoking. It's like, it just, you feel good, and it feels good to feel good about yourself, because there's so many things in our society that kind of want to make you feel bad, or they maybe not want to, maybe just, it's just like a by effect of whatever is going on. But yeah, with social media, it's really hard to, I think, for a lot of people to stay in their yeah, happy place, or feel good about themselves, as a woman, as a man. I mean, it's a rough time we're going through, and I don't know if social media helps. I think some of it does, and some of it really,
As
really
with
is harmful.
everything, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. Everything. It's so, like I said, that duality. Yeah, and trying to find that balance it's nice.
So thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And how you, first of all, tell me, how was the withdrawal for you? And if at any point you needed willpower to resist smoking.
No, that part was really true. I did not need willpower. The only willpower I needed was to actually sit down and listen and watch your the videos. But once you get into your videos, it was just like your passion. It was just really fun to listen to you. And but I was really blown away about the willpower of not needing to smoke. And I even watched, has that one paper where you put up how many cigarettes you smoked that day, and I could see the timeline where it was like, in the beginning I started at 10, then I went down to 6, then I went down to 4, and then I rebelled and I went up to 9, and then and so it's funny to watch how your subconscious is fighting against your conscious constantly. And but even though there's this kind of war going on in your mind, as you're watching the program, and you are teaching us how to use our brains for a healthy way of growth and changing the truths about smoking, that it was just, yeah, it was amazing how the willpower, the brains just started channeling and moving and seeing the truth and stuff. And it was true. It was like all the excuses I kept telling myself, and I was like, wow, that was stupid. Are you serious? No one's a healthy smoker. It's just like so funny. And I think I might be getting off track, actually.
That's fine. And
Um,
I asked you about the willpower because
the willpower,
really,
yes, yeah.
it really is not needed to quit smoking. But when I would say that to someone, they would be like, no,
Mhm.
I of course need willpower, and that's why I asked you. And I'm really glad you didn't need to. And I also totally agree with you that willpower is, great to help us get started on something, but it is not
Mhm.
enough to keep us going. Like you can go to the gym, to the door of the gym with willpower, but you cannot get fit on willpower alone, right? You need to make a
Yeah.
shift in your mind. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, in your body. One thing I love though was the distraction thing, and I forget the name. What did you? There was a specific name of it. Whenever
Which
you are
one?
distracted, it's the theory that like if we're speaking and talking and like a car crash happens and we both are like, oh my gosh, and then when we go back to look at each other,
Yeah,
we're like, oh,
the
what did we?
breaking the pattern one.
Breaking the pattern. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said something to do something, and I'm in love with my cat, of course. And when I think about him, my dopamines go off. And so what I would do is every time I would have like a little trigger, and this is kind of like towards the end when you are working with your triggers, and I would feel like, okay, I want to smoke, and then I'd be like, and I would clap my hands, and it was so stupid. I felt so stupid. Thank God I was all by myself, but I'd be like, yay, 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 and then I would say his name, and I'd go tigre, 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 and it made me so happy. And like I could feel like the chemicals just shooting out of my brain, and I'm just like, wow, I do not need a cigarette right now. That was
Made
amazing.
yourself feel good all by
Yeah.
yourself. And that's
and
the
it
point. Yeah.
and I only needed to do it for a couple days,
Yeah.
the clapping and the which was really funny. But then, and that really amazed me too, is after a couple days, and I was like, where did my triggers go? I'm cool. And I'm totally cool just standing here looking at this wall, doing nothing without smoking a cigarette. Like, it was like, wow, now I get to be with me and my own thoughts. And now I get to stand in line and really take in what's going on around me instead of wanting to get out to go smoke a cigarette. Now I can actually be with this person. I can be available, basically.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of neat and precious. And to understand like why I didn't want to be available too. So yeah, trying to understand both sides of everything is, yeah, it's really neat. But like I said, this whole
Spirituality
program
again.
was, yeah, this whole program was more than just quitting smoking. It was just that it was a catalyst to really open things up for me. So I'm
Well,
really, really grateful.
thank you so much for sharing everything,
Yeah.
your journey, your experience, your advice from your life. And I think it's amazing that you started the program to cut down and ended up stopping smoking for good and helping others too, and starting all this journey of self-healing. That's amazing. It's just
Yeah.
what life is all about, and I'm sure that everything you shared will reach and help even more people. So thank you.
I hope so.
Of
Yes.
course. And if you're here watching this video, please leave a comment below and let Layna and I know what you're taking away from her journey that can help you in yours. We're looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you all for being here. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.
Thank you.